Brutal.
Guns.
Brutality.
Protection.
Brutality.
Power.
Pigs.
Brutality.
Fear was the first one, and then uncomfortable.
I would feel safe, but it would also depend where I am.
In all honesty, I try to be a little cautious. You just make sure I don't look like suspicious or anything.
Fine.
Indifferent.
I'd be fine, comfortable, okay, just get on with my life.
Alert.
I'd be really wary. Like, I don't know, it's like I'll check myself and make sure that I'm as not sketchy as possible, make sure that I'm very put together so that when I walk by there's no chance of suspicion.
Uncomfortable.
I don't think I would be very frightened.
I have a younger brother who's 12 now, and there have definitely been some incidents, before he even got into middle school, where neighbors threatened to call the police on him for stuff that he didn't do.
Not really, just don't get involved with them.
It was more of if a police pulls you over, just make sure, if you don't know what it's for, just ask an officer what am I being pulled over for, or things like that, and just acknowledge, just be very respectful to the police, just so things don't escalate.
Yeah. About behaving myself and stuff, or what to do if I get into an interaction with a police officer, don't try to argue back or resist the arrest or something, if something really bad happens, try to take a video of it, mainly, just to keep myself safe.
Yeah. My parents were always I mean, they were be cooperative. They are very cooperative because they know the ramifications of not cooperating with police.
The only talk that I've ever had was when my brother and I were at a middle school and my brother dialed 911 on the payphone, and he didn't know that when you do that on a payphone, it'll automatically go to 911. So the police showed up, and then my parents were like, that's something you don't do. That was the only time we've ever addressed a problem with the police.
Yes. It was kind of scary because a lot of my family members or family friends are undocumented, or just generally being scared of being stopped or detained. We've never had one specific sit down, we're gonna talk about the police now, but my siblings and I have been taught to stay away from the police, just don't do anything that'll make you have an interaction with the police.
My dad's been pulled over. It's really strange because police officers just tend to have a very aggressive and abrasive attitude, and I understand that they're dealing with, sometimes very interesting characters, but I just think sometimes it's their attitude is a bit unnecessary.
I remember my mom telling me is that one day she tried to file a police report because some things had gone missing when they had moved, and she wasn't dressed particularly well, sweats, hair up, whatever. And they didn't take her seriously, and she came back the next day after having gone to work, and she was in a suit and dressed nicely, and they took her more seriously. It was the same people.
No, thankfully I've never really had to.
My car broke down in the middle of the highway, and I had a puppy with me. The police was thankfully was already there blocking the traffic on one way, and my puppy decided to get out of the car and go straight into the highway. And the police literally ran into the middle of the highway, stopped any incoming traffic, just so I could get my puppy. Yeah.
I was pulled over once. I actually it was completely my fault. I did an illegal turn, but I basically just started crying, and they let me go and gave me a way less harsh ticket than what I should have actually gotten. And I guess I just reflected on that a lot, because I feel if I weren't white and I weren't like wasn't like a young woman, then that wouldn't really have happened.
My neighbors, one of them called the cops on me. Apparently, I threatened to kill my neighbor with like a basketball. It's ridiculous, and the cop apparently told my mother that we don't respect your kind around here.
But growing up, like, whenever we'd screw up and get talked to by police, like, thank God it never got, like, escalated past that, otherwise I wouldn't be at GW, of course. But, like, whenever we get talked to or reprimanded in any way, or whenever, like, we get, like, warnings or worse, like, we'd be very respectful of the police. If I saw white kids getting in trouble, like, they were dicks to the police. Like, they don't have the fear that we have that makes them automatically respect the police.
So many to count. I was walking across the street on campus to Shankman Hall, and I was stopped by a police cop. He was a white man, but I saw him not stopping other students who were jaywalking. That was the reason I was stopped, apparently according to him. So other students were jaywalking, and then I jaywalked, and he stopped me, and then I was like, why did you stop me? He's just like, you were jaywalking. I was like, other people were jaywalking. He's like, that's not the matter at hand.
I think that depends on the people that you're talking about. I mean, I just think that the news speaks for itself. You know, like, people with darker skin just tend to have a completely different experience with police. People, you know, who are more affluent also tend to have very lax relations with police, versus like people in low-income neighborhoods. And you know, people of color, it's just a different experience.
With the recent events, not too well, and I don't think that's because of race. I just think that's because there's a stigma now against police, and unfortunately, it has to be it seems as though there are a lot of black people instead of white people.
From news, unfortunately, some are treated badly, some are treated good. In general, and I guess you would say they treat them fairly good.
The police's treatment of people really depends on who you are, where you are, and if they know you're not.
I think it differs because I've lived all around the U.S. by like the jurisdiction you're in. I think as a whole, well, there's a kind of, so to speak, stigma against minorities.
I'd like to think that people are treated with dignity and respect. Unfortunately, like, news stories and like history says that, like, that's not true. But, like, for the most part, when I see police interactions, it's relatively respectful. I can't say the same about my experience, but, like, at least from what I can see from the majority of police interactions from the outside, I can say that.
Depends on the people, really. I think any sort of minorities are obviously going to be picked apart by the police and targeted.
People definitely are not treated equally or fairly by the police. I think the police have like a lot of ideas about like race and gender and class, and like all of those things play into like how the police is gonna treat you.
They're segregated by gender, by race, by class. Unfortunately, our police and law enforcement is not trained to really be able to handle situations in all aspects of American societies, but just certain ones that they're tailored to.
Generally, the idea in the US is supposed to be like innocent until proven guilty, but I think in general when there are interactions with the police, the attitude, even if you're not like accused of anything, the attitude is that you've already done something wrong.
The same respect I would treat them with. I would expect them to be courteous and civil and just respectful and polite.
I mean, obviously, if something works in your favor, you're not terribly against changing it, but equally.
I'd rather say that I would hope that everyone would be treated by the police as I'm treated by the police.
I want it to be standard, like standard procedure for every policeman, without any like of their personal like bias or like their personal experience.
Fair and justly. It shouldn't be about race, it should be about what you did wrong or if you didn't do anything wrong.
I would like to feel safe when police are there, and I know that's definitely like changes depending on who I'm with and like what my friends look like and who they are too. So I would just like to always feel safe when police are around.
With respect, like another man, I'm very intelligent, I dress well, yet I still have discriminatory actions placed upon me because of the color of my skin. And I know this is a fact. I know this is a fact not only in light of the recent situations that have been broadcasted on the news, but also just my personal interactions. I mean, that one time of just jaywalking, something very simple, just one of many times.
Maybe sometimes not as deemed as a terrorist when they automatically see me or my name is Muhammad. Yeah.
I would just want to be treated as a person, you know, not as a target, simply because of my skin color.
I just want to be treated like well. That's just the main thing. I think that's what everybody wants.